Welcome into another edition, as T-Bone would like to put it, of the Grown Man's Podcast. We are still in our hidey holes across town from one another, but we're still on the podcast together, delivering you guys news as we always love to do. And on the other end of this phone, there's T-Bone, our one and only.
That's right. Oh, one and only. Look at that.
Yeah.
That's
You're the one and only T-Bone of this podcast.
That is true. The only T-Bone so far that has dared to show his face in the world of podcasting under the moniker of the Grown Man's Podcast. Anyway, there's probably other T-Bones in podcasts, I'm sure.
Very true.
So, how was your week, Addy?
Well, it's not too bad.
Yeah?
This weekend had some buffalo chicken wing dip, so that was good.
Yeah.
Watched a little TV with the wifeys. Don't remember what I watched, but I think it was good. Yeah, doing good. Today was a little bit hectic at work, but other than that, not doing too bad. The weather's getting nicer.
Yep.
Went out for a bike ride.
I was about to say.
Motorcycling around town with your brother as well. That was a little bit of normalcy in the world that we have. It was a good social distancing activity to do.
Yeah.
Got out there. No you out there motorcycling yet, because gotta get that bike running.
Have I told you that I went out and put the trickle charger on it?
I think you did mention that you put something on it because it wouldn't even turn over.
Oh yeah, that was
right?
in our group text though between me, you, and Rick. So yeah, I did go out to put the trickle charger on and try to get it going, and it wouldn't turn over. I think I need to put some crankcase oil in, and so I just need to get it down to a bike shop. I mean, it didn't run at all last year, and
you should just take it down, get her fixed, get her running well for the year.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a good year, and we don't know how long this is gonna last, so it might be a couple months that's legitimately the only thing we can do.
One of the very few things that you can still socially do that's doesn't disobey social irresponsibility.
Yep.
Yeah, riding down the road next to each other on motorcycles is just A-okay, and as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you're more than 6 feet away, and you have helmets on, and so you should be good.
Oh yeah.
I guess Pat just turned his bike into the shop, getting it all tuned up, ready to go.
Yeah, his bike needs a little bit less than mine. I probably need new tires on it also.
I thought I had good tires on it, but I don't remember. I guess I thought I did.
It's got okay tires. I'm a little bit skeptical. This is why I want to get into a bike shop, just because I'm a little skeptical. I don't want to get up to highway speed or even 55, 60 and, have a friggin' tire blowout on me because it's got like a soft sidewall or something like that. Like, that would make me very nervous at this point with it having sat for so long. But listen, this ain't a motorcycle podcast. I mean, we can't sit here and talk motorcycles the whole time.
Well, we gotta talk about a little bit of something.
It is what's going on in our life personally right now, which I guess is somewhat of why people tune into this podcast, to see what's going on with old T-Bone and Hattie.
Oh yeah,
right?
That's why I tune in. Yeah,
could be.
Talking about our listeners tuning in, we'd like to thank all those who support the show on Patreon, just like you can if you head over to patreon.com/grownmanspodcast, and the people who ask us questions and interact with us on Twitter. Also, like you can do as well if you just head on over to Twitter. We're at grownmanspod. And this episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Manscaped, which we will talk about a little bit later. But what do you say we get right into the news?
Oh, you want to get right into it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, hey, you're the one that's hosting this show.
All right.
You're ready.
First up, what do you got?
First one that I got here is, it's just like a little, it's not really even news. I mean, it's kind of news, I suppose. I don't know. Maybe it's news, maybe it's not news. But Bill Belichick was in a press conference with reporters and said that it would be impossible to sum up Tom Brady in a few comments. So he said, right now, we're moving forward. Didn't take him long to move on from that relationship of 20 years. So it's just, I don't know. Everybody knows that Bill Belichick's a total DB, but I guess it's just like how long does it take to just say whatever it was that they were looking for? I mean, usually reporters are looking for canned answers. Oh yeah, he was the greatest quarterback I could ever played with. My years with him were great. I mean, that right there is probably the answer the reporter was looking for. I'm not sure exactly what the question was, but
He already sent out his letter of undying love.
He didn't write that.
Well, no, but I mean, it had his signature at the end of it.
Yeah, I'm sure a a stamped signature for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of crosses me the wrong way. It's like the guy gave you 20 years and 6 Super Bowl rings. I don't know. Spend a minute and talk about him for, his seat is still warm there in the locker room.
Nope, gotta move on.
Gotta move on, I guess. Yep.
The next team.
All right.
Talking about moving on, what do you think about those new Indianapolis Colts uniforms? They're more, I guess, maybe refreshed or slightly updated. They're not like a completely new overhaul.
Yeah.
The numbers on the fronts are, updated a little bit to match their new logo. Mm-hmm. Which have you seen it?
I have seen it. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit more, I guess, traditional typeface instead of a more like balloony looking Colts when it's spelled out. Mm-hmm. And then they have like a new alternate logo, which is like the horseshoe C with the state of Indianapolis, well, not the state of Indianapolis, state of Indiana, kind of in the middle. Mm. I think it looks kind of nice.
Yeah.
Updated, refreshing.
Yeah.
Not too big of an overhaul like the Falcons and the Bucks, but. It's a nice update. I like it.
Yeah. You know what the logo reminds me of, and this might be one for the fans that are in their mid-30s and older that are listening. The C, like the throwback new logo with the C, reminds me of the old Denver Broncos D that used to be on their helmets. That's the only thing I can think when I see it. But aside from that, I mean, yeah, they updated the numbers a little bit on the uniforms, which makes them kind of look more like the 70s and 80s Colts style font, which is fine with me. I mean, it's almost unnoticeable. If you showed me a jersey of that without telling me that they updated them, I probably wouldn't have picked out that they were updated.
Yeah, I think the numbers on the jersey are pretty bold. It takes up a lot of space on the jerseys. It looks a little bit different. I think they're bigger than most jerseys.
Yeah,
like the actual size of the numbers on like the backs.
Yeah,
okay. Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah,
makes them look a little bit more bold, I guess.
Yeah. So next item up is Drew Brees. He was ESPN was attempting to do a little headhunting, lock up a big name analyst for the Monday Night Football program before anybody else had the inclination to do so, and so ESPN was going after him, saying, whenever you're done playing, which whatever, if it's 2 years, 3 years, whatever, whenever you're done playing, we would like to pay you a lot of money to come be an analyst for us. And he ended up giving him the snub and ended up signing with NBC for $100 million. So I don't even know what the plan is there, because you got Collinsworth and Michaels, and I think
NBC was just giving him a contract. Just to
guess.
Steal him.
I mean, ESPN is having one heck of a time trying to find anybody that is of any kind of note to come work for them. It's like, it's a pretty good paying job that's fairly easy. I mean, you'd think it wouldn't be that difficult to find people that are willing to do it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy how hard of a time ESPN's having trying to get somebody into their booth to have a decent broadcast. Mm-hmm. But one thing I can say is at least they're trying to get talent. I mean, they tried to get Peyton Manning, they tried to get Tony Romo, and now they tried again with Drew Brees. They just kind of struck out on all of them.
Yeah.
But if they're really putting, that much money and that much effort behind getting somebody, it might not be this year since we're running out of time, but I think eventually they will get some kind of talent in their broadcasting booth and make that product a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, they're willing to spend the money, which is a good sign, and they're actively, and aggressively trying to find people to fill that role. I mean, they're even going after players that just signed, new contracts in the league. They're like, even if we had hope for a couple of years from now, we'll keep Tessitore on for the next couple of years and then kick him to the curb when you finally decide to retire, whenever that is. Whenever you want to retire, we will be there waiting to pay you $100 million. And he's like, I don't think so. So it's just, I'm starting to feel bad for him. I I shouldn't say that because I don't think I could feel bad for a company that made us watch the Genesis halftime report, where they played crappy music videos from whatever city the game was being played in, despite me tweeting at ESPN every single week that they did it, telling them how much it sucked. So I can't feel bad for, maybe everybody that they're trying to go after also saw those Genesis halftime reports and were like, I don't think I need my name associated with this situation.
I remember one of them being okay.
No, they were all trash.
Now there was like a Black Eyed Peas one or something that was good.
I don't need that. I don't. You know what I want at the halftime show of a Monday Night Football game? I want football analysis. I want football. Recap the week of football that already has happened, and then recap the game that's being played.
ESPN did not have the personnel to be able to do that efficiently.
It's ESPN. They can hire, even if it's a couple of unknown guys, hire a couple of unknown guys. Listen, football players don't have a whole lot of skills in their, back pocket for when they are done playing the game. I guarantee you they could go out and find some currently unemployed NFL players that burn through their money too quickly that would be willing to come in and be analysts for them for their halftime show. I guarantee it.
Guaranteed. Good old T-Bone guarantee.
Yeah, you can put the stamp of approval on that message. So here's what I want to ask you is, who do you think, at this point, that's still available to come work for them for the Monday night broadcast? Who do you think would be good? Who do you think they should go after?
I don't know. It's so hard to say with, ex-players if they're going to be good. I mean, we saw Tony Romo, who's decent. I mean, there's people who don't like him, but I think he's a pretty decent commentator. But then there was Jason Witten, who wasn't the greatest.
Yep.
So it's real hard to know who's going to be, insightful in the game and be able to, talk for 2.5 hours when there's not always things going on, and being able to fill that dead time, plus be knowledgeable enough about the game to, have a good, broadcast. And I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of players who are out there. Peyton Manning has already turned stuff down. He's somebody that just retired. I don't really know. Who?
I've heard Jay Cutler thrown out there as an option. He, before he came out of retirement for the Dolphins 2 years ago, I think, maybe 3 years ago, he had already signed with CBS. So that is a possibility. He has expressed obviously interest. He had retired from the NFL and then went to work as a commentator for CBS. So obviously that's something that he's willing to do. I'll tell you, I wouldn't hate hearing Jay Cutler's commentary. I mean, as a person, I don't know if I want him as a friend. He kind of seems like a bit of a douche, but as far as somebody who would give interesting commentary on the game, I think that Jay Cutler is somebody who fits that bill. He's a bit of a loose cannon, I think, and would say things the way that they actually are, not try and sugarcoat it too much, which I think would be a lot of fun.
I think Jay Cutler seems like a pretty cool guy in real life.
Yeah.
Not a douche like you said.
Oh, I mean, not like a jerk, but just kind of not like the warmest person, not like if I was having a real bad day, I wouldn't want to rely on Jay Cutler to turn it around. I just think he's kind of like not like a douche, a total jerk, but more of a douche let's, whatever, kind of, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I can picture people that I know that are like Jay Cutler, but it's kind of hard to put it into words exactly the qualities what I'm talking about. But if you spend any amount of time, looking at any of the pressers that he's done in the past, you can get a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about.
All right.
Yeah.
You know who I think would actually be a good person in the booth is Colin Cowherd. He has his own show, but I think he's small enough where if he could get even a $50 or $60 million contract, I don't know what he makes on his show, but if you could throw $60 million his way and tell him to be in a booth on Sundays or Mondays or whatever network gets him, I think he would be. Could see somebody that would be good.
Yeah,
and I think that he would be, more affordable than $100 million potentially.
I know a lot of people hate Colin Cowherd. I don't necessarily hate him. I think he's, I think sometimes he just has hot takes for the sake of having hot takes. He really,
he's got to draw those ratings in for a show.
Which is, what everybody does for the most part. But, what he does is he locks on, instead of, saying like a hot take just for the sake of getting some, clicks and stuff, he will lock on to one player specifically, like Baker Mayfield is a big one that he, specifically has gone out of his way to kind of hate on and, be a little bit of a troll towards. And so he doesn't move around. He doesn't spread it out too much. He kind of finds guys that he likes to really dig in on. And so that might make it a situation where he wouldn't be a great candidate for it, because I think they look for people that are fairly neutral. And I don't think that necessarily is Colin Cowherd, but I would like to listen to his commentary. I think he has a lot of good insights. I just don't know. I don't know. I think he would alienate a good bit of the league fan base.
Yeah, potentially. You never know.
Never know.
So my next news item up is Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Signing a 4-year, $64 million extension with the Panthers, making him the highest paid running back in the league, or ever in the league.
What? Interesting.
I think he's totally worth it. His first 3 years, he's the only running back who's gotten 2,500 rushing yards and 2,500 receiving yards ever in the NFL. Mm-hmm. He's kind of been called the NFL's version of the cheat code. Mm-hmm. Super talented. 4 years, $64 million, I think is a lot, especially with his usage. But obviously, you're paying for his talent and also what he's done. He's been on his rookie contract up until now, so I think it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, and I like it too because it's kind of a good story. When he was coming into the college ranks. And then also going through the draft process, he was essentially told in no uncertain terms that because he was a white guy, he was not able to be a running back for the most part. I mean, I don't think that it was sugar-coated in any way. They said, you're white, you're not going to be a running back. And, look.
Well, I think that he was undersized as a running back. They didn't think he'd be able to take the hits and the punishment of an NFL season. I mean,
in the lead up to the draft, he said, just that, like what I just said there. I mean, it was he was told that, and obviously race does not dictate what position you can play for any position. And to see him balling out, I think it's good. It's good to overturn people's notions about things when they're based on stupid things. In any given situation, don't judge a book by its cover. Anybody can compete for any position. I like that he got paid. I don't know if I would want my team to pay him that much, just because the running back position is one where you take a lot of hits, and he specifically is one where you are going to be, using him a lot. I don't know how long he can last at that rate.
Yep, especially with Teddy Bridgewater now being at the helm there.
Right, exactly.
But he is only 24 years old.
Yeah.
So even at the end of his 4-year extension, he'll only be 28. So
it's nice,
definitely in the realm of being in his prime.
It's nice to see guys get paid, especially at the running back position, because guys at the running back position don't get paid enough. By the time that they're able to get a new contract, most of the time they're kind of leaving their prime as a running back. Running backs' careers are shorter and much more in their early 20s than, going forward for the most part. You look at Gurley, you look at Gordon, you look at David Johnson, it's not hard to see that, a lot of these big name guys shoot out and have huge careers early in their careers, and then it kind of tapers off as they, get overused.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like it. All right. So did you mention how much his contract was for?
Yes.
Okay. All right. My next news item up here is Chris Johnson has been accused of, and at this point I don't think he has been charged with, but has been accused of and is being investigated for a murder for hire, old CJ2K. So that's quite the story. I guess something to do with the fact that he was involved in a shooting back in the early 2010s, and his friend, Chris Johnson was shot, his friend was murdered, and he had some connections with this drug operation that was going on wherever it was that he was living at, and he essentially apparently paid somebody who was in the drug running organization to go after and kill the guys that were assumed to be involved in the murder of his friend.
Huh.
No good.
Crazy.
No good at all. So
no good at all.
We'll keep you guys posted if there's any more developments with that. It'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Developing story.
Yeah, there you have it.
My next one is the NFL and the NFL Players Association have agreed to do a virtual off-season program, at least until the team's facilities are opened as part of the COVID-19 stuff. Basically, what this allows is they can use non-football educational programs over video conferencing. They can do classroom instruction, workouts, and they can actually send equipment to players such as kettlebells, resistance bands, workout equipment, like Apple Watches for tracking. And if that is capped at $1,500 per player that they can send of that kind of stuff. Yeah, and this is up until when the team facilities are opened. Okay. So they can do all this up until then. So it's kind of a stopgap until the world conditions allow players to get back into their own facilities and teams open up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not a replacement for being with your team and developing those relationships and that chemistry and all that kind of stuff. But at this point that we're living, it's better. It's better than the league shutting down and saying that we're not going to open up for the season this year, which is what every other fans, or sports league has been doing. So I will take virtual OTAs over, shutting down indefinitely at this point for sure.
For sure.
Yep. Next item, the Browns are going to be releasing their new uniforms on Wednesday, barring no leaks, as it were, like with the Falcons uniforms. There was a leak prior to when they planned on releasing their uniforms, and so they ended up just doing the uniform reveal early. So the Browns will be releasing them Wednesday. Hopefully they can keep it under wraps until then.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, so we'll have our review of those uniforms next week on the podcast.
Yes.
Tell you all about them.
Yeah.
I bet there's going to be orange helmets and brown jerseys.
One would assume.
What do you think? I think last time they redid their jerseys, which was only, I don't know, five years ago maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
Or I think it was the year right before Baker Mayfield got there, honestly, which was 3 or 4 years ago.
I feel
it really wasn't that long ago.
I feel like they do it quite frequently, and the uniforms never actually change. Like
I know they're like our orange is slightly more vibrant.
Yeah, or like
and we changed our face mask color.
Right, or like we swapped. Instead of having a brown and an orange and a brown stripe on our side, now we have an orange and a brown and an orange stripe on our side. It's like, okay. Who cares?
You're like, you guys changed so much. The Browns just need an actual logo. Like their logo is literally a logo of their helmet.
Yeah, I mean it's a picture. Their logo is a picture of their helmet, which doesn't have a logo on it.
Get the Dog Pound logo and stick that on there. Get anything. Get something that's in Cleveland that they're historic for, and get that on there. I'm so sick of just an orange helmet being your logo. It's boring.
So boring, and it's so drab, and it's so reminiscent of a loser franchise. I want to hate on Browns fans, but it's it makes me think that franchise is such a loser franchise. They don't even have a logo. You have the Bulldog thing as their team mascot or whatever. Mm-hmm. That would be a cool logo. I mean, you can make that into a logo.
I think it's cool.
Yeah. Do it. I mean, it's better. It's better than a blank helmet.
I mean, do a sponsorship with UPS and put a little delivery truck on there.
I mean, even in high school when I played football, even in JV high school football, we had logos on our helmets. It's it's a $1 billion franchise. It's gotta be able to come up with something.
Yep. I mean, even just put a brown B like they do with college teams. They just put the first letter of the team on there.
Yeah.
A brown B, that'd be better than what they have now, which is nothing.
Yeah. Or
how about brown paper bags of shame?
There you go.
For how long they haven't.
I was thinking of a crying emoji. That could be too. I'll tell you, I have not heard so much from the Browns fans on Twitter or any of those sites because last year after Baker Mayfield came in and kind of took the league by storm with setting the rookie TD record, they were all over the place, man. They came out in droves all off season talking about how, trashing every other fan base and being like, oh, you idiots, Browns are going to be great this year, even though they haven't done anything in the last, 35, 40 years. And, so part of me has like a little bit of a righteous, sense of justice with the situation that happened to him last year. Because listen, you can't come out and start trash talking until your team does something. Like you can be hopeful and, be excited about the season coming, but don't start talking about how the Browns are the best and the Browns are going to kick this team, their butt and all this other crap. Like you got to do something first. You guys, they Baker's rookie season, I think they were 7-9.
Yeah, something like that.
And then
6-10, 7-9.
And then this year, 2019, they were worse than that. So, that's why you keep your mouth shut until your team does something, because then you look like a bunch of idiots. And so they've been real quiet on social media. And if you're not a Browns fan that was doing that, then kudos to you. If you were a Browns fan that was doing that, knock it off. Just be quiet, because everybody was happy for the Browns when Baker Mayfield came out and started looking good. We're all rooting for a team that has been so historically bad. So the only way to get people to be not on your side is to come out and be a bunch of douchebags.
Yeah, I still think that Baker Mayfield's gonna be a good quarterback in the league, or
I do too.
Is a decent quarterback now and is going to continuously get better. I think he's one of the better young quarterbacks in the league, I will say.
Yeah, I don't dislike Baker Mayfield. I mean, again, he's a little bit cocky considering he hasn't done anything, but last year, his first year he had like a top 5 offensive line, and then last year he had, a middling to back half of the league offensive line. Not having a great offensive line as a young quarterback can be a big detriment. So, hopefully they got some of those issues fixed over the offseason. But yeah, I don't think Baker Mayfield's a bad quarterback because he came out in year 2 and didn't look great. I mean, that happens.
Yeah, for sure. So my last news item that I have here, I actually have 2. How many do you got?
I got one
left?
more, so you do your 2.
One more? Okay. My first one is LeVar Ball of Big Baller Brand. If you don't know who that is a clothing apparel. Most well known for his kids one of his kids is in the NBA and wore one of their signature shoes. Is now offering any NBA player or NFL player who wants to sign up to wear their gear 40% of the profits from selling their own stuff, which seems like a lot.
It does seem a lot. Must be he's got really good margins.
I think his first shoe that came out retailed for $595, and then it came out that the shoe was real poorly made and was actually falling apart on his kid when he was wearing it on the court, and had to bring 2 or 3 pairs to every game that he went to because it would fall apart mid game and you have to swap them out.
Yep, those are some good margins then. $500 for crappy shoes.
So I'm sure he's got good enough margins. I don't think they're $600 anymore, but the offer's out there for players. I mean, if you're a new player coming into the league and just looking for a deal, that might not be a bad thing. But they might have to fall apart during your game as well.
If you're okay with putting your safety at risk, with breaking your ankle because your foot slips out of your shoe or something.
That's true. Mm-hmm. All right, so my last one is the NFL draft is going to be presented across the NFL Network, ESPN, and ABC for the first 3 rounds. So 1, 2, and 3, and then
just for ABC for the first 3 rounds.
Yes, for rounds 4 through 7, it is just going to be on NFL Network and ESPN. So that's kind of a bummer. I don't get ESPN or NFL Network.
Oh, you don't?
I do get ABC. I don't.
Oh.
I think it's kind of a bummer that they use these cable channels for their broadcasts. Monday Night Football is another one. I hate that it's only on ESPN. They do some deals every once in a while where it's on ABC or it's on Amazon Prime, or I think Yahoo.com got one time. Verizon got a game, like random spots that's not ESPN that they've done in the past. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel that like football is popular enough that it should be at least on channels that everybody gets.
I mean, I get those channels, both of them, so I don't feel.
Well, yeah, because you pay for cable.
Yeah.
We're in a world where the cord cutter is real, and not very many people have cable anymore.
Really?
Especially young people.
Yeah, I've always had cable.
Like, I don't have cable.
But
I thought, like, when I first moved out into my out of my parents' house on my own, I thought it would be cool to get cable. So I like went all out. I got DirecTV, I believe. Got like the big packages, and it was like $160 a month or something stupid. And I hardly ever watched it.
Yeah.
I just got it because I never had it when I lived in my parents' house.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want all the stations.
Right. Yeah.
And I never watched it, and I canceled it, and I never went back. Like I just rent stuff on various platforms. I have like the Netflix and a couple other streaming services, but with sports, it's difficult.
Yeah. See, it makes a lot of sense for me because, first of all, I have 5 kids and a wife, who's a stay-at-home mom, and my kids probably watch TV all day long. So, it gets a lot of use at our house. And also, and this is probably the biggest reason, my internet at my house, as you've probably heard me commiserate about great many times, and anybody who's willing to listen to me carry on about it, I am more than willing to tell you, the internet at my house is awful. Unfortunately, I have to have satellite internet at my house because I live out in the country, and it's just not a great situation. I don't have any opportunity other than crappy satellite internet. So it's things like streaming services, Netflix, that kind of stuff, that's not an option for me. So it's either cable or nothing.
Yeah, it was a great difficulty when we had to record the podcast in 2 different locations and take old T-Bone over here like 5 hours to upload a tiny little file
yes.
to get it to me.
It's an actual struggle. I finally, fortunately, have figured out the workaround for it. What I do is I drive down the hill into town, and where my cell phone has better service. See, what I do is I plug my phone into the computer, and I manually drag and drop the file onto my phone as a storage device, and then I go downtown and I send it to you through my phone's internet service when I have better service. So it is a bit of a process. Obviously, willing to do it for our dear listeners, but yeah, that was took a little getting used to. I cannot wait until me and you can record in the same location, so we no longer have these stupid issues.
And getting the real whiskey review back, that's something I look forward to a ton.
Yep, it'll be a day of rejoicing. Yep.
And usually there's like sometimes like when you're live looking at the face of a person, you could tell if they're getting ready to talk or if they're actually done talking. When you're on the phone and you can't see their face and you're just like waiting for that like second of dead air where you're like, okay, he's done, I can go now.
Yep.
It's just it's just a little bit smoother when it's face to face. And the whiskey review is the biggest reason though. I miss the whiskey review doing a real whiskey review for the listeners out there.
Yes. I mean, and obviously, you're one of my good buddies. So, just being able to hang out with one of my good buddies once a week, every week is it's nice. It's a nice reason to hang out. If it wasn't for the podcast, I get busy. I'm a father. I work a ton. I would not make a time once a week to come down and hang out with my buddies. So it's just a nice excuse to do that in general. But yes, it'll be nice when we can actually do that again.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we have a little bit of summer left when this is all over, where we can actually hang out a couple times and throw some corn, ride some motorcycles whenever you get it fixed.
I'm looking forward to playing some tennis.
I want to play tennis too.
I want to play it in the worst way.
Well, depending on they say that they're opening things up slightly, so maybe tennis here in a little bit will be a fairly safe activity. You're more than 6 feet away,
quite a bit more
most of the time. So we'll see if that can be a thing.
Yep. So in my last news item, did you do both yours?
Yes, I did.
In my last news item, just a real quick one, DeAndre Washington, running back that was formerly with the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, has signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. So that backfield. That backfield's a little bit of an interesting one. It'll be interesting when it comes to next year to see who's going to be the lead back, and because they have what Damian Williams, I want to say.
Yep.
And they got a couple. Can't think of the other guy that was there last year, but now they got DeAndre Washington. LaShawn McCoy was there last year, so it'll just be interesting to see what happens there as far as the running back room's concerned.
Yeah, I think Josh Jacobs is still going to be the bell cow starter there.
Well, Josh Jacobs was the running back in Las Vegas. I'm talking about Kansas City.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You said Las Vegas Raiders. I got confused.
Yeah. He's coming from the
Kansas
Vegas.
City Chiefs.
Right. Chiefs have him now,
okay,
and that's the backfield that I was referring to.
All right. Yep.
So, yes, indeedy. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I think that concludes it with the news.
Okay. You just want to give a quick word to our sponsors?
Absolutely.
All right. So support for the Grown Man's Podcast is brought to you by none other than Manscaped. They are the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineering for your family jewels. So you don't want to be in a situation where you are trying to use your face razor, that big clunky thing with the 3 swirling like turbojet engine looking things on it and the little pop out, trimmer on it. You don't want to be in a situation where you're using that thing before. Trust me, it can get to being a painful mistake. All right. So that's why Manscaped has redesigned their electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team has spent 18 months perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created and just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. It's their 3rd generation trimmer. It features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to prevent manscaping accidents. Millions of balls are about to be nick-free thanks to Manscaped advanced skin-safe technology. So if you go ahead and hop over there, you're going to be able to get their 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology. They'll also send you, I think the kit that they're offering right now has the shed, which is like the tote bag, comes with ball toner, ball deodorant. And I think if the package that they sent us is the same one that they're offering on the website, they're also going to include some real nice compression fit underwear. So go ahead, hop over onto manscaped.com and just browse their whole catalog of stuff. They got stuff ranging from $10 on up, I think. So there's something on there for everybody. And if you use promo code GROWN, that's GROWN, you're going to get 20% off your order and free shipping. So again, for 20% off and free shipping, go over to manscaped.com with promo code GROWN, and your balls will thank you.
Yeah, and I think that about concludes it for this section of the podcast, and we will move right along to the whiskey stories, the whiskey hour, the whiskey review, without the review.
Yeah.
So we thank everyone who listened and supported the show through Patreon or Twitter, as you can too. Twitter is at GrownMansPod and patreon.com/GrownMansPodcast if you would like to support the show.
Roll the music, Hattie.
Thank you for sticking around to the show after the show, where we try whiskey and talk about things, because we can't do a real review right now as we're in different locations, which is a big sadness to the podcast. Can't wait to get back to it. But I actually broke out my bottle of the Jameson, the Black Barrel Cask Strength, the one that I filled when I went to the distillery down there. I don't break this one out too often, just because it's unique. It's got a story behind it, and I like to have it in my cabinet for years to come. But I did break it out a little bit today. It's a little bit higher proof. The start of the podcast, I needed something a little higher proof to give me a little kick in the face, so to speak. Get me going.
Yeah, you got to do it, Hattie. Every once in a while, you just got to get kicked in the face, Oh, man. I am drinking, I think I drank this a couple weeks ago. I was just saying to Hattie, while the music was rolling, that I am running real low on good quality whiskey. I always keep a big jug of Jim Beam in the house, but that's no fun for the whiskey review. So I'll do one. I think I had a couple of podcasts ago. It's the Redwood Empire rye whiskey. So it's a good one. I like it. Smooth. Hattie doesn't think it's smooth, but I think it's smooth. And so that's what I'm drinking.
It's reasonably smooth.
Oh yeah, real smooth.
It's I have a bottle of that in my cabinet as well.
Oh, you do? You went and got some?
It's my mixing whiskey.
Oh, you're such an idiot.
It's a good mixing whiskey.
It would be an amazing mixing whiskey because it's incredibly smooth and delicious. If you're using that for mixing, Hattie, you're a schmuck.
Nah, that's what I used to use Crown, but for certain drinks that you use it for, Crown's a little bit too sweet. Depending on the drink, it makes a really good whiskey sour. But depending on the drink, if you need like something that's a little bit more bourbony, then the Jim Beam works well. So I got the Jim Beam this time for mixing
You're saying
stuff.
You got a bottle of Jim Beam for mixing. I thought you were saying you got a bottle of Redwood Empire.
No.
Okay.
Jim Beam.
Okay.
Jim Beam.
Okay.
Not Redwood Empire is like too.
Yes.
What's the word? Too unique to be a mixing
Yes.
whiskey. So did I ever tell you the story?
See, I thought you were sitting there hating on my whiskey. That's what I thought was going on.
No.
Okay. That's why I called you a schmuck.
So one day, I'll have to tell this. This is a short story. I think we had a whiskey tasting, or I went over. I think it was. I left it at your brother's house at Pat's. I don't remember if they had like a cookout or whiskey tasting or something. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, I took my Crown, which used to be my mixing whiskey, over to his house, and I left it there. Mm-hmm. And I just forgot about it. A few days passed, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm looking forward to a whiskey sour. So I make it all up. I go over to my cabinet to get my whiskey to put in there. Mm-hmm. And I don't have anything. Like, all I've got is, like, Blue Label and, like, some other good bottles. And I'm like, man, I don't want to put that stuff in there. But I already made the drink. What's, an ounce and a half?
Right.
And I don't remember what it was. I didn't use Blue Label for obvious reasons. I used, like, one of the other scotches that I had, and I made the whiskey sour with it. And when you get, like, smoky whiskey or something that's really unique, like, the drink, it doesn't really taste the greatest, depending on what it is. And I used one that probably wasn't a great one to use for, like, a whiskey sour or something. And it was just, like, a smoky, nasty whiskey sour that didn't taste real good.
Right.
But I was too deep in that I'm like, I already used, like, an ounce and a half or 2 ounces or whatever I put in there of, like, good whiskey. I can't just dump it.
Nope, you gotta drink it.
So there I am, like... being mad that I put good whiskey in a whiskey sour and it tastes terrible and I had to drink it anyway, and not a good thing.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's you gotta hope when you're like, all right, well, let me pick one here that's not the greatest whiskey here. I don't know if I'm using it as a mixer, but it's anything that's in your collection, obviously you got because you like it, and then to pour it in and have it be, not only are you wasting good whiskey on a mixer, but also the mixed drink itself is no good because you use too good of a whiskey. It's like it's a double-sided bad coin. It's got crap on both sides of the coin.
Yep, it was a double-sided bad coin for sure, and you just gotta sit there and drink the whole thing, and you try to drink it like slow because you want to enjoy your drink, but it's just so bad, so you're just like, ugh.
Yep.
Disappointing.
It is,
for sure.
I'm sure,
disappointed for sure.
You want to hear something disappointing? Throughout this entire episode, Hattie, I was playing with I got a new phone today, and they send you that little tool that you use to get the SIM card out.
Yes.
It's got a nice balance to it. It's got that fine little point on it, which is good for spinning in between your fingers, and then it's got the little paddle handle, which reflects off the light nicely. And the entire show, I was sitting there fiddling with it, and about 2 minutes ago, I dropped it on the floor, and it bounced underneath my desk into all the massive cables and cobwebs and stuff, and now it's gone forever.
Gone forever.
Oh man, jeez,
until you're wiggling your feet around underneath your desk one day and you stab yourself with the pointy end.
Yeah, for sure. Man, that's unfortunate. I always like having something nice and tiny, like just a fidget with while I'm talking, because otherwise I'm going to start like tapping my pen like this, you're going to end up hearing it on the podcast.
Yep. You know what I do for fidgeting things during the podcast? Since you're not here, I always have that like big bowl of limes or fruit that's always on my table. Uh-huh. You know how limes get those like little ends on them that you can like peel out?
No.
Like the end that's the end that you actually pick the fruit from.
I mean, I'm not real familiar.
It's like it's like a little top, but you could like peel it out. Okay. It's real satisfying.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever seen like an avocado? You know how they have that like little round top thing on it that you can like pull out?
Hattie, I've been drinking whiskey from a mason jar. You think I ate a lot of avocados?
Well, all right. Well, how about an orange? You know how oranges have the little top on it?
Everything that grows off a tree has a little connector.
Yep. Yeah. But on like lemons and limes, you can it's real easy to pull that out.
A little button or something?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So I pull that little button out of all my limes when I'm here recording the podcast.
Oh man. Just exposing them,
so that's what I do.
Exposing them to so much bacteria and insect infestation. Hey, that's where
no, it's still sealed.
Oh, no, that's where
with those fruits, it's still sealed.
That's where the insects are going to get in there. Oops.
Well, I don't have any bugs this time of year yet. Yeah. Plus, it makes the tips of your fingers smell all limey or lemony, depending on which one you're playing with.
I'll tell you, sitting in front of a computer, usually when we record at your place, the computer's in front of you. You're the one that does all the computer stuff, and you're the one that probably looks at the radio waves the whole time that we're recording. And whenever I bump my microphone, instead of it being really full, sharp audio waves, it's this really thin, windy audio wave when I bump my microphone. Probably because of the spring. But every time it happens, I'm like, that's so cool looking. Makes me want to bump my microphone more.
Please don't. I think the listeners would hate that.
Yeah. Well, that's why
I was actually thinking this episode, I got a Red Bull. It wasn't cold, so I put some ice in it. I usually get a straw if I have an iced drink, but I didn't. So there's probably a couple times in the episode where people will hear me with my iced drink drinking it. And I'm like, that's not good podcast etiquette, but it's already done.
Yeah, I was doing the same. I poured a little bit of whiskey, a little Jim Beam over some ice myself for the first part of the podcast there. So, so yeah, you might have.
So what you're saying is Jim Beam is not good enough whiskey to not put on ice.
It's just regular Jim Beam. It's not like Black Label or the Double Oaked or anything like that. And I could drink Jim Beam just neat, but it's a whiskey that benefits from a little bit of taming from the coolness of the ice and the slight, melting of the water that, kind of tames it down a little bit. It's better. I mean, why would you not drink something in a way that makes it taste better?
That's true.
So
taste is subjective. So I mean, we get pretty in depth on the whiskey, but really what it comes down to is if you like the way you drink it, whether it's adding water or ice or in a cocktail, whatever that may be, if you like it, then you like it. You're buying it.
If it's a good whiskey,
enjoy it the way you like it.
I mean, if it's a good whiskey, I don't ever, put it over ice. But if it's a cheaper whiskey, like some Old Grandad or some Jim Beam, regular label, it's just not, it benefits from having a little bit of chill to it and a little bit of melted water in it.
Hey, I will say that there is the Johnny Walker Black Label, which I would say is a good whiskey on its own. But that benefits if you're, especially if you're on vacation like you were a couple of weeks ago on your little cruiseola.
Yep.
Good old Johnny Walker Black on a couple cubes of ice while you're by the pool or time. On vacation somewhere. It's pretty nice.
I drank a lot of Johnny Black on ice, during that cruise.
Yeah, you almost have to, when if you're outside in a tropical location or by the pool or something, you almost have to put.
Yeah.
Drinking at neat's just not the same. It gets warm extremely quick when you're out in the 90-degree weather. So you kind of need it on ice to be more refreshing and even more tropical, I guess.
Yes. And in the heat, I wouldn't even necessarily want to drink Blue Label out, neat in the sun. It's just
no.
Whiskey is something that warms your body up. It's nice to, and when you're outside, you need something that cools you down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I think the experience of drinking whiskey is what I like the most about it.
Yeah.
When I'm home alone, I very rarely have a glass of whiskey or something and just sit there by myself.
Yeah.
I like the whole experience of getting a bottle and sharing it with friends and talking about it and all the flavors and I think that's more enjoyable than just drinking it to me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I've got 5 kids, I said, so I like drinking it just to drink it too. And,
I drink it just to drink it.
And my wife's been on a whiskey
kick
lately too. She's been drinking whiskey sours a lot, so so I've been, every time I go to make her one, I'm like, a little for her, a little for me, so. I've been on a bit of a whiskey kick here ever since the quarantine's been going on.
Yep.
When you got kids, you got to drink to get unwind a little bit at the end of the day, more so than normal.
Well, that's what I mean. Like I'll have a drink by myself, but not like neat whiskey.
You usually do mixed drinks when you're home.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I don't.
I've bought a lot since the quarantine, and there's only like one thing that you can do, which is go to the grocery store or the liquor store, because they're the only things that are open. I've gotten a lot of mixers, and so we've been experimenting with a lot of different things that you wouldn't normally be able to get or make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think I have like 50 some like mixing things now.
Yeah. Like mixers? Yes. Is that what you mean?
Like Blue Curacao or Saint Germain or Chambord, right. Or like the liquors that you see on the back wall of your liquor store that you're like
liqueurs.
The liqueurs.
Yeah.
You're just like I would use that for like one drink, so it's really not worth buying.
Right.
But since the only thing that you can do is stay home during this time, I'm like, well, I've always wanted to try all these drinks and all these crazy things, so I'll get a bottle here and there.
You gotta
we're up to quite the number.
You and James gotta get your idea off the ground there.
I know.
I mean, it's a perfect time.
I think, it is a perfect time, but
just do it. You want to tell the people what you're thinking about doing?
It's already been done now.
Yeah.
Like I showed you that one guy who does it, the How to Drink guy, the YouTube show.
Eddie,
he's pretty cool.
If every time somebody had an idea that they wanted to do because and they didn't because it had already been done, we would have one of everything. We would have one of everything.
That is true.
That
is true.
We would have.
He's just so good at it.
We would have either Deep Impact.
I watch his show.
Go ahead.
What?
I say, we would either have Deep Impact or Armageddon. We would not have both movies. All right, and and they both stand on their own merit, even though they came out at the exact same time and essentially were the exact same thing.
That is true.
It's okay to have a little bit of variety within the same genre.
I just pour so much of my heart and soul into the podcast that I don't think I have anything left for YouTube.
A company
well.
man, putting that company hat on.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think it would be cool if we ever got big enough, though. If somebody asked us to hey, I really like this thing, make a drink out of it, and we could make one.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. It'd be kind of the how to drink guy does that too. Like he'll get people and he'll be like, "Hey, I just watched the new Star Wars movie and there was in the one cantina this person was drinking some green drink and it's called this in the lore. You should make it." And he goes out and he's like, "All right," and he makes it.
Yeah. I mean, we don't even have to wait, Hattie, until we're a lot bigger because that day may never come. So
that is true.
We can just we can do it now. If anybody who's listening to this has a liquor or liqueur that you guys want us to try to do something with, let us know, because guess what? We will do it. That's kind of how this works. You give us suggestions, and for the most part, if it doesn't break the law or violate some deep moral code or something, for the most part, we're going to do it. So if you have suggestions for things, let us know.
Yeah, throw on your ideas right on over. Yeah. I do draw the line at any Vegemite, Meramite drinks, though. That is off the table.
It's got to be something that you buy in a liquor store. I'll say that. You can't be make a drink with mustard, okay? Because even though I love mustard, I'm not going to drink a liquor drink, an alcoholic beverage that has mustard in it.
That's true.
So, be reasonable here with what you ask, but if it's within the realm of reason, I mean, even reasonable adjacent, then we will probably do it. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And being within the realm of a reasonable length podcast, I would like to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to us for the last few, almost an hour. Again, support us on Patreon if you would like at patreon.com/grownmanspodcast and interact with us on Twitter at grownmanspod. We thank our sponsor, Manscaped, and the people who do support the show on Patreon. You are the lifeblood of the show. You really keep us going, and we thank you for all your input and just listening to us each and every week. And keep those questions coming. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and you know what, Hattie? They don't just keep us going as the lifeblood of the podcast financially, emotionally also. Just knowing the people out there really appreciate the show that much, that makes a big difference to us.
Yeah.
All right, so
it really does.
Stay manly, guys.